Good morning. In this video, the information regarding that seed production techniques in varieties of groundnut will be provided for you. So, before seeing that techniques related to that seed production, I wanted to give you information about that seeds and its internal structure of the groundnut. Groundnut it's a dicot seed. These have a well-developed cotyledon, 2 in number. These two are the cotyledon. And one of the cotyledon that primary embryonic axis is attached. So this is a primary embryonic axis. In that this particular part is that club shaped region is a flumellar region, whereas the radicle is embedded on the one of the cotyledon. Both the cotyledons are well surrounded by the papery layer, that is a pericarp. So here that seed coat is called in the name of pericarp. That may be a red in color, rose color, and that will be vary from variety to variety. So this is in short about that seed structure of the groundnut. Then regarding that floral biology of the groundnut, it's a strictly self-pollinated crop. That is mainly because that keel petal. So here in the flowers you can see that this is a keel petal. This one is a keel petal. This is isolated keel petal. So the keel petal that completely cover that stigma. So that entire stigma is completely covered by the keel petal. Not only that stigma, that stamens also. This part completely surrounded by the keel petal. So because of that, these favor for occurrence of the self-pollination. So the chances for occurrence of the cross-pollination is only 0.5%. So this crop is a self-pollinated one. So another drawback with reference to that groundnut is concerned, here that have low SMR, that SMR seed multiplication ratio in groundnut is very low, that is 1:8. In some of the cases reported 1:5 also. SMR means if you sow 1 seeds, out of that how many number of seeds you are going to harvest. So in the case of groundnut, if you sow 1 seeds, out of that you can harvest 8 number of seeds alone. To calculate the SMR, already we have the formula, that is seed yield divided by seed rate. So by that way also we can work out that SMR for various crops. So in the case of groundnut, that SMR is very low, 1:8. So this is the various stages of the groundnut plant growth. So here that seeds are sown, then seed will germinate, and this also follow that apical type of germinations, so vegetative stage. So that during that flowering stage we have to pay more attentions. So after fertilization of the flowers, that will bend and that will try to enter into the soil through the process of the peg penetrations and pod development. So pod development normally occur within the soil. So for easy penetration of the peg into the soil, that loosening of the soil is very important. So during that flowering stage, we have to loosen the soil, and the loosened soil should be applied on either side of the that plant. So that is the earthing up operation, that is very important. Soil loosening followed by placing of the soil in and around that particular systems. So this will help the pod to penetrate very easily, and that pod also will develop in a very pakka manner. The another main thing with reference to that groundnut cultivation is concerned, the selected land should have somewhat sandy nature. If it is a clay soil or a hard soil, the peg penetration is a problem. But all the peg penetrated, that peg development will be seriously affected by the soil. So soil parameter also main thing with reference to that groundnut cultivation is concerned. And then regarding the stages of the seed production, so the normal cases 3 generation systems we can follow, but in the case of groundnut, this is a strictly self-pollinated. Because of that, there won't be any problem with reference to maintenance of the genetic purity and physical purity. Another thing with reference to groundnut is concerned, due to low SMR, so low SMR seed multiplication ratio, and the production potential also very much decreased. So because of that, there is a heavy demand for seed. So wherever the crop in which we have that the following 3 properties like strictly self-pollination nature, low SMR, and heavy demand is there for seed, there we can follow that 5 generation system. So in groundnut all the 3 things are there. So in most of the cases, we are following 5 generation system. That is a builder seed, foundation, foundation 2, certified 1, and certified 2. So if it is a 5 generation system is followed, there that seed renewal period will be once in 5 years. We have to change the seed material. Regarding that land selections, the selected land should be free from vulnerable plants. If at all any vulnerable plants are there, again that won't causes any problem with reference to the genetic purity aspects, but that will be a physical contaminant. That will be a physical contaminant. Anyhow, we have to eliminate that problem also. And then the selected land should not have the problem of the root rot incident, because the root rot is a major problem creating one. If at all that incidents occur, that will be yield will be reduced very much. Another thing with reference to that Macropomena pathogen is concerned, that sclerotial body able to survive in the soil for longer period of time. So definitely there will be a problem. So during that land selections, if at all the field have the history of that Macropomena incidents, better we can avoid those lands for cultivation of the groundnut for seed purpose. And fine tilth need to be ensured, because that we need to have a sandy soil that should be a porous nature. That will be useful for peg penetration, easy peg penetration and pod development. So that is a very, very important thing with reference to land selection as well as land preparation is concerned. Then regarding that method of seed production, here varieties alone is available. We don't have any hybrids in the case of our groundnut. So for varietal seed production, we are following that controlled open pollination process. So again, the crop is strictly self-pollinated. So because of that, here maintenance of 3-meter isolation is sufficient to maintain the genetic purity and physical purity of your seed material. So both at FS and CS, we are recommending that 3-meter isolation distance. Then regarding seasons, if it is an irrigated crop, that should be taken up on December, January. If it is taken up on December, January, the crop will attain maturity for about another 4 months period of time. And the main advantage of that December, January season is that maturity of the pod, groundnut pod, never coincide with the rainfall. If at all the pod is going to coincide with rainfall, means in the case of groundnut, vivipary germination is a major problem. The plant itself, the seed will germinate. The plant itself, the seed will germinate. If it is germinated, we cannot have any kernels. So that is a drawback. So to overcome that particular problems, better we can take up sowing in the month of December, January for irrigated crops. If it is a rain-fed crop, we have to take up sowing in the month of June, July. So if it is delayed in sowing, definitely that cropping maturity will be coincide with the northeast rainfall, particularly in Tamil Nadu. November, first week of November or the first fortnight of November, we can expect rain in the Tamil Nadu. So we have to take all those points in our mind. Accordingly, we have to take up sowing. So that is the thing with reference to that season for groundnut cultivation is concerned. And then regarding that seed rate and spacing, so in the case of groundnut, we have 3 different type of material that is based on the plant habitat. So punch type, spreading type, semi-spreading type, like that things are there. So here I can show you that line diagram of that all the 3 types. So the case of spreading type, that will have branches. That branches will have a vein kind of things that will have a direct contact with the soil surface area. So that will occupy major area. So in these cases, we have to give a more spacing. So this is spreading type. So here that gets spreaded on the ground, so that will occupy more area. So the population will be lesser in number when compared to that punch type. Punch type means a erect nature. So that branches that have minimum contact with the soil surface. So the branches and are somewhat erect nature. So here we can have a more number of plant per unit area. So here we have to use that more seed rate and spacing also very less. Whereas here that spacing we have to give more and lesser seed rate, and population also less. So that semi-spreading type, this is in between that spreading type and semi-spreading type. So these demand more space when compared to erect type and less than the semi-spreading type. So the seed rate is almost equal in spreading and semi-spreading type. So this is a different type of groundnut based on that growth pattern. So accordingly that seed rate, quantum of seed rate needed per hectare also will vary. So if it is a spreading and semi-spreading type, the number of plants are going to be there in the hectare area will be minimum. So accordingly that seed rate also 80 to 100 kg per hectare. Whereas punch type, the plant is erect nature, so that less ground coverage, so more plant we can accommodate, and spacing also less. So because of that, here we have to use 100 to 120 kg of pod. This is not a kernel, this is a pod requirement to take up cultivation of 1 hectare area. So accordingly that spacing also. Then some other groundnut variety that have a dormancy, say example the TMB7 that have the dormancy period of 10 days. Similarly the Co1 that have the dormancy period of 10 to 15 days. VRA2 that have the dormancy period of 1 week. As far as the groundnut seed dormancy is concerned, this is a really very good one as far as the farmer's point of view, because I already told you that in situ germination or vivivary germination is the major problem in the case of groundnut. So if at all the seed have the dormancy and the maturity is coincide with the rain, means there won't be any problem of the in situ germination. There won't be any loss for the farmers. So in that angle, that dormancy is somewhat useful one as far as the groundnut is concerned. Suppose the farmers immediately after harvest, say example the TMB 7 that are going to have the dormancy period of 10 days. So within that 7 days of picking, that farmers wanted to take up, wanted to use that seed for sowing purpose, means that seed is not able to germinate immediately after sowing. That will take some times. So in these cases, by the way of treating the kernels with the that 200 ppm of ethyl, we can overcome the dormancy problem. So to break the dormancy in the groundnut, we can soak the seeds in the 200 ppm of ethyl solution for about 6 hours. So by that way we can overcome that particular problem. So whatever may be, that dormancy presence in the groundnut is a really good one. So that will be a useful one as far as the farmer's point of view. Then another thing with reference to that groundnut seed is concerned, that our pericarp will, and that seeds with different colored pericarps are available. Some of the cases the pericarp, that is at the outer covering, is light rose in color. Examples are TMB2, 7, JL24, VRA1 and 2, and VRA3. In those cases, light rose kernel color, and some other variety like Co1 and Co2, that rose kernels. Then red color kernels in the case of ALR, ALR1, and red patches with white, red patched with white. So that is a TMB10. So these informations will be useful for the seed producers. If at all that ALR1 mixed with the TMB10, means based on the kernel colors we can separate the seeds. So these information will be useful to maintain the genetic purity of your seed material. Then seed treatment. So before sowing up the seeds, seed must be given with some sort of treatments. Particularly the groundnut seed should be given some protective treatment against soil-borne pathogen, particularly that root rot pathogens. So for that purpose, either we can treat the seeds with the biocontrol agents like Trichoderma viride, or we can treat the seeds with the chemical fungicides like carbendazim or carboxin. If it is a Trichoderma viride, that recommended dose is 4 gram per kg of seeds, whereas that chemical means that the carbendazim 2 gram per kg of seeds. Apart from that biocontrol treatments, so here we have to use that rhizobium as a biofertilizer treatment. So here a particular strain is released by the TNIU. That strain is rhizobial culture TNIU 14. It's a very specific strain for the groundnut. So by offering both biocontrol agent treatment as well as that biofertilizer treatment, we can make our seed to resist both the pathogen, and also the added rhizobia help the plants to fix the atmospheric nitrogen. So for rhizobial culture treatment, if it is a seed treatments, we have to use the 3 packets, that is a 600 grams. Whereas if it is a soil applications, suppose you are looking for application of that biofertilizer directly in the soil, means there we have to use 10 packets. So that 10 packet materials also mixed up with the 25 kg of farmyard manure and 25 kg of soil, then you go for that broadcasting. So but here the problem is, here we have to use extra 7 pocket. If it is a seed, only 3 pocket is needed, whereas in the direct application, soil application, we have to use 10 pocket. So we must be very careful during that seedling stage, seedling establishment, because that seedling is vulnerable to the attack of the root rot as well as collar rot infections. So once you follow that biocontrol agent treatment or any fungicide treatments, you can make your seedlings totally divide up that collar rot and root rot incidents. Then seed hardening treatment also here recommended. So because some other places we are take up groundnut cultivation and rainfed cultivations. So under rainfed cultivations, that water scarcity is a major problems. Again for groundnut, that seed germination that will take 10 days period of time. So to complete and seedling emergence purpose, that will take 10 days of period of time. During that period of times, we have to ensure availability of right amount of the moisture. That is very important because it is oil seeds. So during that germination process, the complex material like a complex carbohydrate and fat, here that fat content is more. Fat is a more condensed form when compared to your starch. So for conversion of the fat into a sucrose molecule, that need to enter into the several biochemical process. Initially that fat need to be converted into fatty acid and glycerol. Again fatty acids need to be converted into acetyl CoA. Again that acetyl CoA need to transfer into the mitochondria for entering the Krebs cycle. Then only that energy will be developed. So for all these processes, definitely this will take time. So during that period of times, the presence of that adequate moisture content is very important in the case of oil seeds. So the groundnut also we have to ensure. So 10 days that will take for that occurrence of that germination related event to give rise the normal seedling with root and shoot. So that is the thing. So that if it is irrigated crop, there won't be any problem. It is rain-fed crops, we have to do that seed hardening operations. Another main thing with reference to that oilseed crop is concerned, not only the groundnut, in almost all the oilseed crops, the maintenance of the viability is a major problem because that oil seed, the major constituent is that oil. So during that storage, that oil will have a contact with the atmospheric air, particularly oxygen, that leads to occurrence of the that lipid peroxidations. So the lipid peroxidation leads to conversion of your oil into a fatty acid and glycerol. Once that fatty acid is formed, that is a very fatty acid nature, that is also very vulnerable on toxic substances, and that causes serious membrane damage and collapse. Everything will be occur. Ultimately the seed will lose its viability. So if it is a freshly harvested and fresh seed materials means we can expect that so better germination. If it is for 6 months or more than 6 months old seed material means there we cannot expect that much level of the germination. So because of that, in Indian minimum seed certification standard itself, for groundnut they specified minimum germination percentage is 70. So there itself we are giving a 30% relaxation. That 30% may be of that dead or not able to produce any normal seedlings. So because of that, in the case of groundnut, maintenance of the optimum population in the field level is somewhat challenging aspects. So in order to maintain that optimum population in the field level, what the farmers they are doing is initially they will sow the seeds and they will wait for 10 days. After 10 days only the people will come to know what are the place in which the sown seeds are not germinated. Wherever that empty is there, wherever the gap is there, the farmers again will re-sow the seeds through the process of the capelling. The capelling operation is within that 10 days period of time. Within that 10 days period of time means there won't be any problem with reference to that crop growth and everything. Both that early sown and delayed sown will match up, and that won't be a problem. Suppose if it is beyond the 10 days means there will be a problem. So there will be a difference in the growth stages of the that initially sown seeds and the seeds sown at the time of the capelling operation, because this also almost a kind of determinate type of things. So Whereas in the case of pulses and all, it's intermediate types. So intermediate type, there will be a continuous flowering, continuous vegetative growth. So there we can do that capilling application and all little early or somewhat late. So there won't be any problem. And moreover, in the case of pulses, we are doing that pot picking, that and all we are following. But in the case of groundnut, it's once over harvest. As and when the crop attain maturity, we will pull out the plant as such. Okay, so that is the thing. So here that germination is a major problems, and another thing is the capilling is another major challenging work. So once that farmers they go for capilling, again they have to employ some amount of the labors. For them also they have to make a payment. So ultimately this make that groundnut cultivation is somewhat costlier operations. So to considering all these things, and seed science people, they have developed one technology, that is a live seed separation technology. So in this case, what we are doing is we have to soak the seeds in the 0.5% calcium chloride solution. So here the seed solution ratio is 1:0.5, because this also have adequate amount of the proteins like that of the pulses. The duration of soaking is 6 hours. After soaking, the soaked seeds should be spread. We have to soak the seed. Then we have to wet the candy bag with the same solution, 0.5% calcium chloride solution. The wetted candy bag should be put it on the floor. Then over this we have to spread the above soaked seeds. So we have to spread the groundnut kernels over the candy bag. The candy bag also wetted. The groundnut seeds also already soaked in the calcium chloride solution for about 6 hours. So now the seeds are spreaded. So over this we have to place one more candy bag that should be wetted with the same solutions. Allow it for some times. So during that period of time, that germination related process will be initiated in the case of a groundnut. Then once that 6 hours is over, after placing of that candy bag on the top, after 6 hours we have to remove that candy bag that is placed on the top, and look for the seed that ready to give rise that radical. So ready to give rise that radical. So here you can see this image, you can see some projections. So here so this is ready for giving a radical protrusion. So here it's ready for protrusions. So before that emergence of the radicals, so based on the symptoms, this kind of symptoms, we have to separate those seeds, because those seeds are live in nature and ready for that germination related process. If it is a dead one or non-viable, that never show that kind of symptoms. Here you can see. So these are all the seeds are not showing any symptoms of the projections. If it is a dead seeds that never show the symptom, this kind of symptoms and all, you cannot see. So that will be in original color, or something will ooze out, and that kind of symptom is there. So based on that protrusion, before that protrusion, that will show the symptom of the radical protrusions. So whatever that material that's so ready for that radical protrusion, that we have to collect. So once in 2 hours of times we have to do that process. So we have to collect and reduce the moisture content to the original level, and then by that way prepared seeds we can store it for about 10 days. So whatever seeds you segregated based on these particular symptoms, all those seeds are viable one, able to produce normal seedlings. So once you follow this kind of process, whatever the seeds collected through this process that's shown for crop cultivation purpose, everything will be germinate and able to give rise at normal seedlings. So in this case we can expect 100% germination. There won't be any problem of the gap or poor germination. No need to go for that capilling and all. So that is the advantage of this particular technology. So here we are offering horning treatment, and also through that horning process we are identifying the viable seeds. That viable seed alone we are segregating. That segregated viable seeds alone used for sowing. So that is the advantage of this one. So by that way we can minimize that capping operation and all. We can exclude that capping operation. That is the advantage of this particular process. Then the seeds are now ready. If it is a rain fed crop, 140 kg per hectare, irrigated crop 125 kg per hectare. If it is a cold seeded variety, we have to use 10% extra seed material. And if at all you wanted to do that capping operations, you have to complete that operation within 10 days of that sowing. And then some of the example for that spreading and semi-spreading and punch type varieties are given here. The TMB 134 and that and all comes under the spreading type. TMB 6810, that is a semi-spreading type, and punch type TMB 2, 7, 9, 11, 12 all here. So these are all some examples for each category. Then manures and fertilizers. So this also agriculture crops. So here we have to use 12.5 tons per hectare farmyard manure, and NPK 2550 75 kg per hectare. And here that micronutrient also causes serious problems, so that we are going to discuss in the next slides. So that to alleviate the boron related problems, we have to apply 10 kg per hectare as a basal. Then micronutrient mixture also we can apply as a basal, 12.5 kg per hectare. And gypsum application is very important as far as groundnut is concerned. So for almost all the oilseed crops, that crop should be supplied with adequate amount of the sulfur. So the sulfur play a major role. Some of the amino acids, sulfur containing amino acids are there. So all those amino acids will strengthen the chemical bonds of the oil on the fat and all. Okay, so in that way, keeping quality and oil quality, everything will be good. And for that purpose, that oilseed crop should be given with the sulfur. So calcium sulfate, that have a calcium as well as sulfur. That calcium also play a major role as far as the groundnut is concerned, that we will discuss in the later slides. So that 400 kg per hectare we have to apply, gypsum 400 kg we have to apply. I already told you that earthing up operation is very important operation. That is earthing up. Through earthing up operation, we are going to loosen the soil in and around the root zone area of the groundnut. So that will loosening of the soil will help the pot to penetrate very easily, and higher level of porosity will help the pot to develop an pakka. There won't be any restrictions or any problem with reference to pod enlargement, all those things. So for that purpose, earthing up operation we have to do 40 to 45th day after sowing. So before earthing up operations, we have to apply that gypsum. So after application of the gypsums, you can go for that earthing up. So during that earthing up operations, we will tick the soil. So through the ticking operation, the gypsum get mixed with the soil, that get incorporated. So during the before that earthing up operation, we have to apply that gypsum 400 kg per hectare. Then you can go for that earthing up, and that whatever the gypsum is applied, so that will give calcium as well as sulfur to the groundnut crop. And apart from that, since it's a seed crops, so here we have to apply that DAP 0.5% during that flowering stage. So this will be helpful to the plants for better kernel development. So these are all the problems caused by the micronutrient deficiency, particularly the micronutrient like zinc, iron, boron, sulfur and calcium causes its own problem, particularly the zinc. So that causes the problem of the veinal chlorosis. So the vein alone become yellow in color, that remaining area green. So this is automatically that this causes some problem with reference to photosynthesis, and photosynthate production will be reduced. So the kernel size and everything will be reduced. So to overcome these problems, that groundnut crop should be applied with the zinc sulfate at the rate of 25 kg per hectare as a basal. Similarly, the iron, that is opposite, that is a interveinal chlorosis. Here that vein alone green in color. Here you can see that vein alone green in color, whereas that remaining area yellow in color. So this also causes problem with reference to photosynthesis and photosynthate production. So to overcome these problems, we have to spray 1% parasulfate on 30, 40 and 15th day after sowing. Then boron, so the boron deficiency normally causes a rosette appearance, pod development is affected, and hollow heart seeds. So that hollow nature and all you can see. So here you can see on inner side that a hollowness will be appear. So on inner sides and the boron deficiency that causes some hollowness will be recorded here also. So automatically the weight of the kernel will be decreased. So that is a major problem. So to overcome that problems, we have to apply Porox 10 kg along with Sipsum 200 kg per hectare on 45th day after sowing. That is during that earthing up operations. Sulfur, I already told you, that is very much important for oil formations and oil quality maintenance. Apart from that, sulfur deficiency that causes standard growth and chlorotic appearance, and a spindle appearance also will be recorded. So by the way of applying that Sipsums, we can overcome these particular problem. Like that of boron, the calcium also causes major problem as far as that groundnut crop is concerned. So normally in the case of groundnut, the more number of pod with a single compartment. So here you can see that the pod with a single compartment. So per pod only one kernel alone will be available. These are all the pods that have two kernels. Whereas if at all any calcium deficiency is there whatever that pod is formed, that will have only one kernels. Other than that, the pop pod means there won't be any kernel on inside. That is a watery nature. So that is the calcium deficiency that causes some problem with reference to the fertilization related issue. So that leads to occurrence of the pop pod is a deficiency caused by the calcium. So this and all we can overcome by the way of applying that Sipsum. Then weed management, so like the pulses, here also we have to apply pendimethalin at the rate of 1 liter per hectare, followed by hand weeding. So mostly we will do that earthing up operation on 40th day. On that itself, there itself we can remove the weeds and then we can apply Sipsum and we can do that earthing up operations. So during that earthing up operation, soil should be applied like this. So that soil is loosened and that loosened soil should be applied on the root zone. So this will be really useful for the pod to penetrate very easily and pod development also very easy. If you are not disturb the soil during that process, the peck penetration will be very tough. There won't be any pod development. So that is the thing. So here you can see the field where that soils are properly applied on either side of the things. Okay, you disturb the soil and put up adequate amount of the soil in and around that root zone area. So by that way you can encourage the peck penetration and pod development and pakka. In addition to that, if you apply that Sipsums also will loosen the soil, Another thing is that calcium is normally known as a policeman of the soil, so that will do the ionic regulations within the soil. So once that adequate amount of the calcium is available in the soil, that will regulate the movement of the required micronutrient in the plant system. So that is a thing. So earthing up operation is very important operations. So that should be done on 40 to 45th day after sowing. So during that times we have to apply that Sipsum also. So irrigation is a very important one as far as the groundnut is concerned. So we have to irrigate the crops once in 10 days depending upon the climatic conditions. The critical stages with reference to irrigation is concerned: peck formation, flowering, as well as the maturity phase. And another thing I already expressed, so that the in situ germination is a major problem. So if at all that your maturity of your crop is going to coincide with the rain, in anticipations you can apply the malic hydrosides. So that is there in the another sides. Okay, that I will come to that one later. So before that, if at all your crop have the problem of the water scarcity during that flowering and pod development, so to make your plant to withstand that water stress, you have to supply that potassium chloride, because that potassium is normally known as policeman of the plant. Calcium is a policeman of the soil, whereas potassium is a policeman of the plant, because this will do ionic regulations. So this will decide which nutrients need to go that particular sites. So this will execute, this will serve like a tropic police. So this will regulate the ionic things. So by the way of the crop have adequate amount of the potassiums, automatically that will do the ionic regulation work in a pakka manner. By that way, this make the crop to overcome the problem caused by the water scarcity or water stress. So for that purpose, we have to apply 0.5% potassium chloride during flowering and pod development stage, because in flowering and pod development stage is very critical. If at all any stress occur during that period, there won't be any kernel development. So we must be very careful during this particular period of time. With reference to present disease of that groundnut is concerned, the red hairy caterpillar is a major pest. Red hairy caterpillar is a major pest and causes serious problems, severe yield reduction as far as the groundnut is concerned. So to control these pests, a lot of cultural practices are there. Other than that, by the way applying that quinalphos, we can control that pest. So that is a thing. And so many cultural things are there. You will study in detail in your entomology course. Regarding the diseases, so this have a rust disease, so that photosynthetic area will be decreased, automatically the yield will be decreased. Similarly, that leaf spot incidence also, so that is also a major problem. So to control all those things, we have to use appropriate chemical as listed in this particular table. Then maturity and harvesting. As far as the groundnut physiological maturity indices is concerned, drying and falling of older leaves and yellowing of the top leaves, that is indices symptoms. Apart from that, whenever that pod attain maturity on inner shell, so here you can see inner shell that turn black in color. If it is immature, normally it's a white in color. Okay, so as and when that pod attain maturity on inner cell of the pod, that will be black in color. So this is a inner side view of the fully matured pod. And also that if you shake the pod, there you can see here that rattling sound, that kernel movement and all you can see. So that internal maturity symptoms. And after observing all these symptoms, you just irrigate the crop and pull out the material on the day itself. I already started to tell about that in situ germination related issues. So if you feel that the crop going to coincide with the crop maturity coincide with the rainfall, means as a precautionary measures, you can apply malic acid at the rate of 0.5% on 65 to 70 days itself. So if you apply that malic acid to the dose of 0.5%, that will that will make your seeds not able to germinate. So it's a kind of a temporary dormancy. But if the dose is excess of 4000 or 5000 ppm or something, some more quantity, the more concentrations, that will permanently kill that primary embryonic axis. So here that dose is very important. Dose and the time of application is very important. So that is a thing. So by the way, we can some extent we can prevent the occurrence of the that PV germinations. So we will have the yield of the 2400 to 2500 kg per hectare. Then after harvesting, we have to separate the pod from the mother plant. So through stripping operations, so now we have so many machines are available for stripping of the pod from the mother plant. After stripping of the pod from the mother plant, the pod should be subjected to the pod verifications, like that of the maize. In the case of maize, we are doing that cob verification. Like that here, that pod should be subjected to the verifications. This is a very important operation as far as the groundnut is concerned, because the rogging operations, we can do that rogging only based on the leaf and flower, but we cannot see that pod and all, because that pod going to be there within the soil, whereas that rest of the crops, that the seed material will be available in the outside. So based on the seed color, shape and all those things, we can do that rogging in the field itself. But in the case of groundnut, that is a problem, because the pod going to be remain within the soil. After harvest only we will see that pod. So to ensure that genetic purity of the your seed material, the pod should be subject to that verifications. So that sometimes that if you know your variety, pod color and pod size, shape and peak and everything, normally in the case of groundnut, that flower two compartment will be available. and in one compartment that will have a peak like this, some other variety that will have a peak like this, some of them don't have any peak, some of them very short peak like that. So the dental characters under the control of the genetics, so that is a differentiating character of one variety from another variety. If it is so based on that you have to verify the part, and if at all any contaminants are available, other variety materials are mixed up with your seed material, so before separation of the kernel from the pod, so here itself we have to discard all those parts. So that is a very important operation, and this is a useful one with reference to maintenance of the genetic purity of your groundnut. Then we have to separate the kernels from the pod. So for that purpose we are doing that decortication operations, either manually we can do or machines also we can do. And another thing with reference to the groundnut is concerned, if your kernel is going to be there in the pod itself, means the storability is more. Once you take out the kernel from the pod, that will lose its viability early. Okay, so whenever you are going for that sowing, at the time only you can separate the kernels from the pod. Before that, if you wanted to store your material, means you should be put it in the pod form itself. So that is a right way of doing as far as that groundnut is concerned. And then once that kernel is removed from the pod, you can go for that grading also. So for grading purpose, normally we can use that 18 by 64 inches round perforated metal sieves. Then here that oil seeds, so we have to maintain that low moisture content. So here that 7 to 8% level we already set moisture content, either through sun drying operations, or if you are aiming for reduction of the moisture through the machines or artificial way, means there you have to use 110 degree Fahrenheit for about 1 to 1.5 hours. So you must be very careful with reference to that temperature as well as duration of exposure with reference to drying of the groundnut kernels. So these are all the seed standards with reference to that groundnut is concerned. So germination here is 70% is a minimum. Another main thing with reference to that groundnut is concerned, in most of the crops, whatever the crops so far we were discussed, in all the cases that the physical purity is 98% for FS and CS, whereas here both for FS and CS it's a 96%. So these are also some exceptions, like that in the case of carrot, that physical purity is only 95%. Okay, some exceptions are there in the groundnut also, one of the exception. So here for both FS and CS we have to maintain 96% physical purity. So that is a thing. Again for that storage also we have to reduce the moisture content very much low. So these are all the matter with reference to the groundnut. So in the next class we can discuss about that seed production in sunflower. Thank you very much.